Lila, and Teeps, and Flora, and me. Rocket.
Boost! Fire!
This has happened before.
Advisor.
Telekinesis. One of the most prominent, powerful, and well-known superpowers of all. Ever since I first discovered the word and meaning in the original Star Fox game, as well as in the X-Men cartoon, mind over matter is just the ultimate elemental technique to learn and master. Just in time for September on account of school, everyone wants to be a brainiac, and also use that powerful feat. Well, a lot of people consider it as a mental skill, but they don't often use the heart to empower such an omnipotent skill. Like the human spirit, it can be the most amazing force imaginable, even more common than wielding fire or water. The earliest OC I ever written about was actually a telekinetic and telepath for the Fantastic Four named Terry Thatcher, after all. Remember, they must not be accompanied with another element, unless if it's a separate ability, whether it be light, dark forces, fire, or even manipulating souls. They must be pure telekinesis. Others must only be a side dish and never their primary ability. Let's surpass those objective geniuses and make their degrading minds blow!
PK Starstorm!
As soon as I was building this list, Ness from Earthbound was the less likely choice. Brainiac's boy was exactly that, and I wasn't instantly thrilled as he came onto the world. Not even in the game he stars in. Just like Earthbound, Ness just randomly appeared into my life. I remember I was around 12 or 13 seeing him for the first time on the original Smash Bros, when I was playing as Yoshi on normal difficulty. All of a sudden, I saw that random boy possessing a baseball bat, yo-yo, and a variety of kinetic moves. I never knew Ness nor Earthbound, and boy was he tricky to use. He wasn't really a home runner, not as simple as Pikachu, Yoshi, or Kirby, but was definitely different. I'm sure for many, including myself, if it weren't for his debut in Smash, we'd probably never know him. I wasn't too fond of Earthbound neither, very complicated for me, nor I hardly knew that game existed. While he possesses different types of kineses, his main method is still telekinesis, emitting flashes and blasts to his many enemies. And even though Mother 3 had to come up with something different, I couldn't understand how Lucas was relatable to Ness. Maybe as a close friend or perhaps a descendant. Later on, as I was making my reboot crossover with Smash Bros. Melee, I had him train with Mewtwo honing his Psy skills, including the interesting move on churning enemy fire into healing energy with the Psy Magnet. He then teamed up with Captain Falcon, taking out some of Damon's nameless infected cronies. Ness may have been first priority to the majority, but just like the sheep herd, I never cared for him all that much. A lot of telekinetics tend to be Einsteins by nature, and most of the contenders here share this trait, including Ness, and it's no different than Lisa Simpson. As we all know, Lisa is the gifted prodigy child of the dysfunctional Simpsons homestead. She surpasses everyone even outside the household intellectually, ever since 2nd grade. Why they never move forward, I'll never know. With such a genius mindset, the video game developers automatically thought of gifting Lisa telekinesis. And it's usually prominent utilizing the hand of Buddha, enabling her to levitate and drop heavy objects, including those weird dolphins that walk on the beach with their tail fins. Or simply just by using the stylus in the DS version. Later in the Simpsons game, she's capable in possessing electrokinesis via lightning, and cryokinesis as well. Nevertheless, due to her outstanding IQ, her main mind-bending skills are the most prominent. Unfortunately, it seems to be the only game where it showcases her telekinesis. Still a nice basic addition to this list though, and just like with Stewie's non-canon mind over matter, I wish it was used more often and officially. When people think of a famous Dragon Ball Z villain, they usually either think of Frieza or Cell. I think the former is more iconic in that regard. Not only just in Dragon Ball, but actually anime in general. Frieza is like Toriyama's version of Shao Kahn, conquering and decimating many planets and galaxies, and enslaving a variety of races including the skilled, arrogant Saiyans, or employing the Ginyu Force under his cold, omnipotent feet. Frieza has been dreaded by many civilians. His merciless nature and conquest is known for as he kills various life forms no matter what the age, or if they're simply too weak, and spare no one and nothing that stands in his way. He usually takes on several forms, including the Signature 3, his cyberized form, and his golden shade, but he often looks like another psychokinetic I know. And his prowess is often revolved around his destructive mind, both figuratively and literally. He definitely has genocidal power at his fingertips, as energy beams and lasers emit from them, and he's definitely capable of destroying entire planets in a matter of seconds. Aside from his amazing brute strength and agility, he does possess psychokinesis, more than capable on controlling his inner strength and levitating and forcing objects to his enemies, including creating a series of death discs which are also controlled by his mind. Even catching and killing Krillin! Both he and Cooler also use hover pods moved by their minds, so it's no doubt a common and basic ability in the Frieza race and beyond. It's no question he's renowned as a prodigy to his species, even surpassing his own father King Cold, thus handing over the doomed universes to him, and rivaling the god of destruction Beerus. Frieza was so damn difficult in the original Budokai that my stepbrothers at the time had a mind-boggling idea to beat him. By simply taking the disc out of the PS2, while the game was still playing, fight Frieza, and eventually beating him and saving their progress. That was insane! Despite being a xenophobic with Super Saiyans, Mind Over Matter is definitely Frieza's specialty. His moves are usually involved with psychokinesis, despite absolutely being psycho himself. He has a ruthless, omnicidal personality, he has no heart nor mercy, and his inner prowess is what makes him powerful with the lack of training. He can surely surpass the Emperor of Outworld despite their many similarities and brutal power. Frieza can surely freeze and paralyze you with fear and anxiety, and that is what he's definitely all about. Another minor, though better, addition is Yumi from the Code Lyoko series. She happens to be one of those telekinetics that doesn't require an outrageous IQ, but mostly specializes as an athlete and martial artist. Unlike Frieza though, her skills required training, and she's probably the most balanced Lyoko warrior aside from Odd. Unfortunately, slightly like Neo, her prowess only resides in the digital realm, rather than the outside world. It might not be as powerful as the ones, since she's not an anomaly, but she does have decent capabilities, such as the usual leverage of boulders and rocks, or take down small insectoids, or lifting her fellow warriors or several enemies to be tossed around like ragdolls. There are some downsides though. There are many limitations such as a short endurance and duration. It requires fixed concentration as she can only focus on the task at hand, rather than what's around her, leaving her vulnerable. It's only utilized in Lyoko, and it's a tad on the weak side since she relies on her fans and fighting prowess for larger enemies. Plus, she hardly uses her telekinesis and relies more on martial arts, as it takes a great deal of hyperfixation and stamina. Kind of like a cautionary tale. At least she ain't broken and not a diabolical machine like Frieza. Her psionic skills may not be on par, but at least she makes up for it with her outstanding physicality. It may just be as narrow as her relationship with Auric and William, if you know what I mean. No telekinetics nor psychics lists would ever be complete without mentioning Silver the Hedgehog. Mind you, this was sort of a controversial choice, but is slightly better in the psionic department and a little more tolerable. We all know that he debuted in Sonic 06 and came from the future, the same dystopian future that was devastated by Iblis after the reject Princess Elise cried and let him out. His origins were unknown, which is kind of a shame, and he used to have a lot of wasted potential. The Sonic team didn't manage his psionic skills well, as he flies infinitely in cutscenes, but always consumes tons of energy in gameplay. He can catch a large firebomb and basic boxes, yet is unable to catch several warheads. Plus, lest we forget the cheating bastard in that infamous boss fight. or even mishandling the hellish ball puzzles. I used to absolutely hate Silver, but over time, I sympathized with him because his true potential is thrown away by corporate carelessness, much like many others I've encountered. It wasn't until Generations where he received a hell of an improvement, as he's capable on moving a massive molten boulder with his mind in Crisis City. Sometimes as a promising athlete, much like Yumi in the Olympic Games, or even as a driver. He still has the usual physicality like the other hedgehogs, such as phenomenal speed, the spin dashes and jumps, and even utilize power from the Chaos Emeralds, including Chaos Control, but not really to the extent of Shadow. Plus extra credit since his voice actor is mainly Quentin Flynn, who has also portrayed Johnny Quest in my all-time favorite Season 2. And he also reminds me of future Trunks in Dragon Ball a lot. Silver does have several kinks to be worked out, especially with his naivety and arrogance, and I hope the developers can improve him as a main character and perhaps expand his lore such as with Blaze or Shadow. I've seen worse, and Silver is just the Wuxi and in the gray area without an extreme, much like his own fur, thus barely able to reach the top 5. I hope this list shall be more promising from here. Mother Brain from the Metroid series was just another brainstorm for this list. I've questioned myself several times as to why I chose her as a telekinetic. As her name implies, she happened to be an organic supercomputer created by the Chiaotzu on planet Zebes and watching over the colony. She was also around when Samus was taken in by the birds from her devastated homeworld, but only MB disregarded her as a weak specimen. Artificial intelligence has no heart nor beauty, remember that. And Mother Brain happens to be as ugly as those pompous companies abusing AI. Unbeknownst to most, Mother Brain had helped create the sacred cyber suit, but as soon as Samus left Zebes, that was when she went haywire, power-hungry, and since then allied with the space pirates, who recreated her as an absolute weapon of total destruction, and thus became the main nihilistic antagonist of the series. Due to its limited mobility, Mother Brain makes up for it in spades. Aside from being literally the mind's eye overlooking activity in Zebes, most of her attacks come from her own spiky, spongy, and psychotic mind, including controlling technology and weapons from her own wiring or wireless, extra points on performing telepathy, controlling thought patterns in various organisms, thus the fauna attacking Samus, create and hone her energy rings on Samus, and of course conjure her devastating brain blast and laser brain attack. For the Chiaotzu's sakes, with these two moves causing incredible destruction, especially in such an enclosed space, she literally has no need to have the usual catch and throw. Aside from technokinesis and telepathy, she does manipulate, conjure, and emit lethal psychokinesis onto Samus in a variety of ways. And being that it's only an organic supercomputer, is only artificial, has no heart, and turns traitor while joining the terroristic space pirates, Mother Brain certainly possesses immense power, intellect, spyware, and surely is a genius turned malefactor from her supreme cerebellum. It is a prime example how one of several polymaths rely on pure logic and be prone to corruption and be a being of total chaos and death.
Hey, no need to be so dramatic, MB.
Only I have the brains to rule Lilac.
Another iconic evil mastermind is Andross from Star Fox. This barbaric baboon was the most gifted of all of the Cornerians and throughout the Lilac system. However, despite being a prodigy, he had quickly gone bananas and megalomaniacal growing up. Because of beneficial research and experiments, he was honored and given the title as Doctor. Unfortunately, he switched to ill will, including wanting to conduct unethical bioexperiments and dangerous wormholes, to the point where the peaceful Cornerians rejected him, and soon General Pepper banished him to Vena, where his volatile science and telekinesis took a vile route. Although he mostly uses different types of biokinesis, including his dismembered head and hands, his most signature attack is, of course, his mouth, as he's said to telekinetically vacuum in all kinds of space debris, including asteroids, blocks in the original game, starships caught in its maw, and occasionally healing rings and powerful nova bombs. The ginormous inhale and exhales are often fixed and honed onto his enemies before he should crush his victims with his jaw, or regurgitate any deathly debris he has consumed. It was implied in Nintendo Power that he uses a telekinetic amplifier to use telepathy and brainwash many living things, including Venomians, and even crossing over communication lines and create projections of himself. His scariest method, however, is his brain form, where he controls his own mind as transport and hone his two eyes functioning as ships to pursue his enemies. His mind is also capable on confusion and creating illusions to his victims, ambushing them unawares. It can also project orb minds, making flight patterns difficult, and possess tentacles beneath the cerebellum, which tangle, whip, and tear his enemies into shreds like a squid's. Although these volatile skills the mad scientist has with his own mind could just be biokinesis, it was definitely considered to be mind over matter, including when separating his face, brain, and hands from his own body and make a nihilistic mayhem across the Lilac system. Andross from the original game was the earliest example and a first when I discovered the term and ability, right up there with the mutants Professor Charles Xavier and Jean Grey. Telekinesis is most definitely a specialty and the real deal. Perhaps this was an example on how our common ancestors, including ourselves, can easily be swayed into evil, especially when relying on pure logic and superior intelligence alone.
Yes, the dream is over. Now your worst possible nightmare is about to begin.
Deathborn is a diabolical telekinetic top-notch. This cyberized madman has become the most sinister and destructive force in the entire F-Zero universe. Excepting in the anime, he hardly does a damn thing. This is actually the first time F-Zero managed to make it on one of my elemental lists. Just like Frieza, he's not someone to be reckoned with, and is omnipotent. He's known as the F-Zero champion of the underworld, meaning that the Grand Prix seems to have a light and dark side, like the Force. And just like the Force, Deathborn's capable on using telekinesis, as shown in Chapter 8 of F-Zero Chiaotzu's story mode, where he lifts both the light and dark halves of the championship belt and make them swirl in a portal. Hell, he's actually a cyborg that has his signature brain encased in indestructible glass, as he died and was recreated up to 3 times, replacing organic parts with metal ones and making him immortal. It may also be possible that he can control his own craft, the Dark Schneider, with his own mind, aside from occasional handling. And boy is it freaking deadly! Plus, due to AI, he can predict Falcon's moves, as he makes every attempt to destroy him. He possesses both brutal physical and mental strength. Even if he should cause the infamous horrific accident, send any life form he despises as wandering vagabonds in space, and even has a device that enables him to travel through space-time instantaneously. No wonder he's better known as Black Shadow's overlord of him and hell. The fact he's so terrifying is because he came from the distant future, and is so damn mysterious. He's always shrouded in mystery, much like a black hole, that not even the Japanese profile says much. I can definitely see him recreated by the creator Ghosts, to balance the yin and yang in the universe, and he has been a vital part in my F-Zero timeline. Deathborn was close to being one of my all-time favorite video game villains, and due to his unpredictable malice, his mystery, and his mastery over matter, I wish he was dark-lighted more often. I just need to elaborate on something. Numbers 2 and 1 have been very difficult to take the golden trophy. There were many periods of indecision, and I made a temporary poll. However, after about a week, I think I've made a final decision, and the silver trophy goes to Keanu himself.
I merely think others were as qualified.
The blind Ronin Kenshi Takahashi takes the runner-up. Ever since I started writing my chronology and got to the 5th main installment, Kenshi has been one of my top most favorite combatants and mindbenders. Since his debut in Deadly Alliance, Kenshi had become a fan favorite along with the likes of Bo Raicho and Frost. In it, he was introduced as a person looking for fights, until he met Song, who wanted to enroll him in the first tournament. They found his ancestor's sacred blade named Sento within a well, but was almost instantly blinded as the spirits went apeshit, and Song was none other than Shang in disguise. Sento eventually became one with him as his main method of sight, his primary weapon, and enables him to use telekinesis with it. Kenshi wields the sacred family blade with his own mind in a blue hue, and soon uses his own psionic combat, and even reading people's minds. He then joined the Special Forces and became a crucial ally ever since. The tragic backstory involving the Yakuza was a nice touch, but I wasn't into Dominic's era much. Nevertheless, Kenshi, like any telekinetic, can be tricky to use and master. But once they got the lowdown, his mental abilities can perform the most volatile combos and fatalities ever. His prowess was soon inherited to his cousin, or rather his son, Takeda, and he too's definitely a force of nature in his own right. Fun fact, Kenshi was actually inspired by the action star Keanu Reeves, particularly as Neo from The Matrix. Sonya gave him the nickname Keanu in MKX, and his fighting style similar to his own, excepting the sword. Ironically, Kenshi debuted in 2002, which was a year before the Matrix sequels, in which in the latter was severely blinded, uses his orange mind eye, and uses telekinesis in the real world. And that was before WB owned and ruined both properties. Kenshi was a telekinetic who instantly became famous, based on Keanu, made a surprise DLC fighter in MK9, and has been a mainstay from Deadly Alliance to Armageddon, MKX, and Dominic's failed experiment. The assassin phenomenon was also an inspiring, likable addition to my chronology, and a great mentor to my OC Aiko. So too teaches us a crucial lesson involving coherence, utilizing both the heart and mind. Just like the last upcoming psychokinetic, Kenshi uses both heart and mind to carry out amazing feats, which is something I always commend, especially in a telekinetic. Well done, Keanu. Alright, we've counted down 9 talented brainbenders. But before we get to number 1, let's present the honorable and dishonorable rollers.
Takeda wins. Fatality.
I stand alone.
I'm sure you all are expecting this, and it wouldn't take a mind reader to figure that out. Mewtwo was always number 1 as their favorite, relatable Pokémon and best telekinetic that ever existed. The genetic Pokémon from Kanto, specifically New Island, was a clone from Mew's DNA, and with some gene splicing by Dr. Fuji, he made his birth onto the world. He then grew up with his family and fell in love with his daughter Amber, But after her death, his memories were erased and soon became the ferocious feline he is known to be.
We dreamed of creating the world's strongest Pokémon. And we succeeded.
Due to his phenomenal psychokinesis, Giovanni took him in, and that was when he was first shrouded in mystery in the anime as his gym got destroyed. But it wasn't until Pokemon's first feature-length movie that he went into full orbit and is loved by many. In all media, Mewtwo can possess every telekinetic and psychic force imaginable, including surrounding himself in kinetic energy, possess confusion, amnesia, teleport, psychic, psycho cut, Psybe, power swap, future strike, and outrageous special attack and defense. They can go over various leaps and bounds, and he can also hold onto other elemental moves. He's very much like a living supercomputer like Mother Brain. His intellect and abilities might as well be beyond the Pokémon world, and can translate every life form well through his telepathy, and is no question featured in various games as the final boss, Super Smash Bros. Since Melee, and even having a special role in Detective Pikachu. With his fantastic telekinesis, he usually considers himself more powerful than his cutesy counterpart. Heck, he can just be more dominant than Arceus, especially since he has two Mega Evolutions X and Y. It's not just his psychokinetic abilities that made Mewtwo special, nor his origin, but he can be the most relatable Pokémon and telekinetic ever. Always being manipulated by low-life humans, being isolated in labs, and just being an outcast never fitting into normalcy in the majority. I too can relate to him in more ways than one. He's one of my favorite villains, he's one of few video game characters I can relate to, and above all, like Kenshi, he's a rare specimen that can use both the heart and mind to be the best character. The thing is, not many, including Brainiacs, consider the heart to be a secondary mind. Coherence is more effective than just sheer intellect alone, and both Kenshi and Mewtwo utilize this. They overcome their boundaries and maliciousness many intellects tend to ignore, and they've improved greatly. Kenshi and Mewtwo use both minds to save themselves and others, and they're pioneers in what telekinetics should be. It's not just powerful dominant mind bending. Without the heart, anyone can just be an evil, cold, robotic intellectual overlord, like Andross, Deathborn, and Mother Brain, even those IRL, especially with high social status. It's important to get good grades and get far in life and climb up in the social ladder, but all tend to put their minds first and hearts second. And along with Kenshi, you two can use both minds to make society a lot more tolerant and just have a peace of mind. I'm the Ikron Rider, and I want my telekinetics to be a cautionary tale. It's vital to have smarts, but also use your heart as a mind, and have a good balance between them. Mewtwo was the first to prove us that, and even though using the mind is an ultimate force, they could just be as weak without paying both the mind and heart in high regard. As they say, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And the best part is, I'm actually done with all the negative responses to the overrated elemental lists by Oscar. The negativity has finally rolled off my shoulders, and from here on out, it shall be smooth sailing from October to the end of this year. Block 4 and the Superpower Wiki has helped me out a lot with these topics, from understanding them and ideas, and although there may be a ripoff or two of the former itself, I can't appreciate it enough. But finally, I've went through the choppy seas of pressure, and hopefully it'd be a more gentle journey. I'm the Ecron Writer signing out until October with my Umbra Kinetics.